So I know what you're thinking. You've seen the title and you're thinking, you've really lost it. And I've not lost it, but in the last week or so, this has become a thing for some reason, and the purpose of this video is to talk about where it came from, and genuinely out of the genuine curiosity to see what you guys think about this topic, and if you'd ever want to see this, and basically talk about why this has now suddenly become a thing. And before we go any further with the video, I just want to clearly outline that there is probably 99% chance that this is never going to happen, but for some reason a lot of people in the community have started to talk about this idea, and I want to go into why and why it's unlikely we'll see this, what could happen if this was to take place, what sort of content would we see. Let's just jump into where this really began, at least from my experience. Now before this idea has never entered my head, it's never crossed my mind, I'd never really thought about this, but Milo tweeted on the 2nd of Jan, actually thinking Infinity Ward DLC 5 for Infinite Warfare would be really cool at this point, remastered extinction maps when, and I know he was doing it more just to honestly see what people's reactions were, just to kind of get a little kick out of things, but it's really got a lot of people talking. I've seen quite a few Reddit threads from people talking about it, and even before DLC 4 came out for IW, people were already discussing their ideas for DLC 5, and generally there is a lot of very interesting viewpoints on the idea of this and how people feel about this. So let's break this down really. There is the camp where people really loved Infinite Warfare Zombies. And if you're one of those people, then you probably really love the idea of this. I've never personally ever stated my opinion on Infinite Warfare Zombies clearly straight up before in a video, but I'll tell you guys now, whilst none of the zombie maps in IW really do it for me in terms of wanting to jump back, wanting to play them again, I did generally have a lot of fun on those maps during the season. Specifically, and I know a lot of people are not going to like this, but Attack of the Radioactive Thing, I don't know why, I just really enjoyed it. I liked how difficult that Easter egg was, that whole chemistry step was actually pretty interesting, and when you look at it, Infinity Ward actually put a lot of very interesting new things into zombies with their iteration, and sure, the storyline was pretty whack, and I know that as it went on, they tried their best to kind of flesh it out a bit, and the ending was sort of a little bit of a cop-out, and it's very obvious we're going to be getting a sequel coming in their next game, which is no surprise, and to be honest, for their first take on zombies, I don't think it was the worst thing. It was definitely very different, very bold and out there, but they were very clear in making zombies their own thing. They didn't try to copy Treyarch or anything like that. It's like, hey, this is our zombies. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Now, it's quite obvious that once the main hype died down for every new zombies map release, we wouldn't really touch the maps or the game because honestly, we didn't enjoy it that much. And I guess that's where a lot of people fall into the next set of camp that I'm talking about. Infinite Warfare wasn't a very popular Call of Duty game. It's probably one of the worst selling and the worst received Call of Duty games we've had in recent times. Now, it's a little bit of a shame because as a DLC season went on, I do believe the game did get better. And it's a little unfair that the game was tarnished with that brush from the offset that it was a terrible game, because it really did try to take its own risks, and most of them worked, most of them didn't, but that's just how it is. And there's also the camp of people which absolutely detest IW Zombies, say it's not zombies, it's trash, leave it alone, Treyarch Zombies is the only zombies. And of course, there's never going to be people that will not think that. And this is where this topic gets really interesting, because if we talk about the idea of what would they do for DLC 5, everyone's saying they should just remaster the extinction maps, just remaster them. We've got extinction cryptids within zombies now. It'd be very easy for them to simply copy and paste the AI into the maps and it would be great. But I don't know if that would be enough. I mean, it would be very simple content for that to be put into the games. It doesn't really require a lot of overhaul and a lot of time and work, as they're obviously working on their next game, but it's intriguing that literally that is the only thing people want to see, is the extinction maps brought back. Now, in my personal opinion, I feel like extinction could have been fleshed out a lot more. I honestly am 50-50 with IW Zombies as I am with Extinction. I kind of wish they brought Extinction back instead of creating IW Zombies, but after seeing it all fleshed out, it'd be interesting to see where they take IW Zombies. The Beast from Beyond was actually pretty diabolical in terms of trying to carry on the Extinction story that a lot of diehard fans waited years for any sort of progress on it, and it basically just literally trashed the entire story of Extinction into the dustbin, and I felt that was a real shame. And for people that are intrigued in seeing how we got to Beast from Beyond with the Extinction aliens, you might not have played Ghosts, it might be fun for people to go back and play those old Extinction maps and experiences, and honestly I think it wouldn't be a bad thing. But we have to look at the likelihood, and this is where we get into another segment about this topic. The likelihood of this is extremely unlikely. Now, let me put this into business prospects here. With DLC 5 with Treyarch last year, Black Ops 3 was the best-selling Call of Duty game in years. All of the DLC season was incredible. Like, it sold more than Activision would ever expect, and the player numbers and the activity was more than they ever expected, which is why they continued to support the game last year with more MP weapons as well as Zombies Chronicles, that DLC 5 which we never thought would happen, and it's gone to be the best-selling add-on on PlayStation 4 for the entirety of 2017 for Europe and North America, which is absolutely huge and says volumes to Activision about how we feel about remastered content. Now, it was obvious that Call of Duty Zombies and Treyarch specifically would always do well, and a remaster pack like that was obviously going to do well. Maybe it done a little bit better than they expected, but if we think about it, they had the money aside for Treyarch to go ahead and create that content. Seeing how the reception to IW was, it was one of the worst performing games. It's very unlikely that Activision will want to invest more money into a new content pack for IW, when realistically they're not even focusing on that anymore. The way that Activision's mind thinks right now is World War II, and Treyarch's next game is all they're thinking about. They're not looking back anymore. They did last year during the IW season, as obviously they needed that extra revenue from Black Ops 3 and Modern Warfare Remastered so that they wouldn't make such a big loss on Infinite Warfare, and that's why it was bundled with Modern Warfare Remastered from the offset, because they knew the game wouldn't sell unless they bundled an insane remaster like Modern Warfare Remastered in with the mix. Now, the real interesting thing is, just like with any COD game that comes out with the on-disc Zombies map, by this point in time, we're in the new year, we're heavily awaiting the first DLC Zombies map. It gets to the point where we are really bored of the on-disc Zombies map, and a lot of people always have this viewpoint every year. The game that we're playing right now, without any new content being added, feels extremely stale, and people go back and play the older games. And generally what happens every year is when COD comes out, people say this new COD is the best COD in years, and then a few months later they say it's absolute trash and that the previous games were better. I've actually seen people say that IW was better than World War II, which is pretty nuts. I don't think we're in the right state of mind and we have enough content yet to judge that fairly, judging as IW's had a whole season of DLC as well as the game. IW's had none yet, but I'm absolutely mind blown to see some people on Twitter and Reddit and YouTube comments say that they actually prefer IW zombies to World War II zombies, and I definitely know there is a tiny minority out there that used to say that IW zombies was absolutely awful, but now they're saying that IW zombies is actually better than World War II zombies. And I will admit, I feel World War II zombies has had a really bad start, and on being hand on heart, I haven't touched World War II zombies in about 2-3 weeks. I've not had any incentive really to want to go and play it. I'm very bored of it and I want something new, and I don't know what exactly has gone wrong for me to feel like that towards the map, but it's just the way I feel. With all of these games, the way that these games have their sort of climatic endings for zombie seasons, you got to think these developers think real differently. Like, we've had Revelations ending, which was very disappointing to a lot of people at first, and even now, only right about this point, a year and a bit later, we're really starting to finally change your opinions on that, because the obviously intention of that was to make you feel a certain way, and then when we have more context for the next game, the ending's going to be seen totally different. And a lot of people were, upset and disappointed that Black Ops 3 didn't have a super Easter egg of sorts, and IW listened to the community feedback and added that super Easter egg with the Mephistopheles boss fight. And overall, I think for fan service and community service, IW done very well. It's interesting that Treyarch did plan or have ideas of wanting to do a super Easter egg, but as they got down to it, they just didn't feel it was right in the way that they wanted to tell the story. And it obviously seems that with World War II, we're going down a similar route where every map we're collecting some sort of artifact, which is part of Barbarossa's sword. We have the hilt from the Final Reich. Obviously, I'm assuming we'll get something else in the Darkest Shore, and leading on, we'll be building this crazy artifact, and not quite sure what's going on there. But obviously, with all that historical background, it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes. But it's just sad that it sounded like on paper World War II Zombies was going to be absolutely incredible, and for the first few weeks it was great, but it's just really started to go a bit stale, and I can't quite put my finger on it, hence why people are now wanting a DLC 5 for IW Zombies. But let me know down below in the comment section, do you want an IW Zombies DLC 5? Do you still play IW from time to time? Would you honestly pay $15 to $30 for an Extinction DLC pack, which is all the Extinction maps remastered, perhaps revised a bit for a Zombies map specifically? Let me know your honest thoughts. I don't really do these sort of videos talking about topics like this, but I feel like this was one which I wanted to address because I was genuinely curious to read the comment section on this video. And if you enjoyed this video, it was a bit of a surprise to see, then drop a thumbs up. I know probably some of you guys have already left dislikes because you don't like IW Zombies, and I mean, I get where you're coming from, but don't shoot the messenger. I didn't create the game. I'm just talking about it, okay? We've got some good stuff coming up later in the month. Of course, at the end of the month, we have DLC 1 for World War II coming out, which is going to be so good. And this year, of course, is Treyarch's year. So, very soon, in the next few months, we're going to start to hear our first bits of info about Black Ops 4 Zombies, which is going to be so damn good. And, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what IW get up to as well next year. So, now a lot of people are anxiously awaiting for the next season of IW Zombies. It's crazy. It really is how diverse this community is. But thank you for watching. You've been awesome. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'll catch you next time.